Mark Lynas is an award-winning author, campaigner and speaker. He's science advisor for the Climate Vulnerable Forum policy led to WePlanet and has co-authored scientific papers with a focus of scientific consensus. His climate book, 6 Degrees, has been translated into 22 languages. Thank you, Mark Lynas.
It's a really poor excuse, isn't it? Caroline, just say a few more words. All right, everyone. Good morning. Now, I'm from a rainforest nation, and that rainforest nation is called the United Kingdom. And its rainforests look like this, like any other rainforest. They've got beautiful green trees festooned with epiphytes and ferns, and they're populated by wild animals and with constant bird song and the sound of running water. And if you look at the left-hand panel here, this is the areas which are suitable geographically and climatologically for rainforest in the British Isles. And they include the part where I live, just up here on the border of South Wales, in a mountainous region called the Brecon Beacons. This is what the Brecon Beacons actually look like. There is no rainforest. And the reason why is not because it's been chopped down, but because it's been eaten by those white things in the front, which we know as woolly maggots, but are more widely and conventionally known as sheep. And this area could thrive again if it was rewilded, but to do that, we have to remove the sheep. And livestock are, of course, and we all know the stats here. Thank you, Joel, for this slide. Thank you, Ida, for passing Joel this slide, which then came to me, and is now the property of the whole movement. This tells us of the number of species. Joel, can you explain this slide?
This is from IUCN data, visualized by the Royal Society. So this is what people want to know what is actually threatening species, right? So we say there's a mass extinction, and most people think about those ones just 2 in and 3 in. They think pesticides, pollution, and they think hunting and fishing, because that's what we see on the news. But what it's saying here is actually the most number of species is impacted, threatened by agricultural land use, either land use.
Okay, that's enough. Thank you. Yeah. You'd go on, wouldn't you? All right. This one I do know though. So this is like the area of land of terrestrial. Well, the land surface which is given over to livestock. So it's 27%. So it's all of the Americas basically, which just puts, I think, a lot of our debates into context about land use. I mean, built-up areas, like, that's a rounding error. Even if we were to use renewable solar and wind on a large scale, that would still be a rounding error, all compared to the amount of the Earth's surface that's dedicated to livestock. And of course, it's way bigger than cropland as well. So the area that we actually use to feed ourselves in a direct sense is quite small compared to the amount that we use to feed ourselves at one remove using livestock. This is about how livestock are produced. And the important thing to remember is that, and this is the real challenge I think that faces us kind of morally in our movement, the best way to produce livestock is not through extensive area of grazing where they destroy what would be rainforest, but the most efficient way to produce livestock for human consumption, of course, is through factory farms. And so that graph here shows how this is not land use, this is CO2, but it does show how the production of beef in the US has got more and more efficient during the last few decades of the 20th century. So we're producing a lot more beef on a lot less land, producing a lot less CO2 emissions, thanks to the intensification of animal production. And so we're stuck in this kind of dead end, really. If we all want to continue using animal products, dairy and beef and so on, we need to move 100% to factory farms. And that's actually what they've done to a significant extent in the United States. Virtually all pigs are produced on factory farms, virtually all chickens as well. And of course, this is actually a very efficient way of producing protein, although you still have to provide the feed from elsewhere. So it still uses a lot of land because of the inefficiencies of doing it all at one remove, where it goes through an animal first. But of course, that's a moral question in terms of animal welfare. I think when you see what goes on inside factory farms and when you see what goes on inside slaughterhouses, it's not defensible in any moral sense. So what is it? 75 billion land animals killed each year to feed humans. This weekend, it's about, if you just divide it up, it's about 400 million animals killed to support humans. And if you want to get out of this dead end, get off this treadmill, then you need to look at other ways of producing protein. And they also have the benefit of sparing land. And the best places to see animals in this world now where they are properly wild is in the Korean demilitarized zone, which is absolutely thriving because it's full of landmines, and Chernobyl, which is absolutely thriving because parts of it are highly radioactive. So even the worst case scenario nuclear accident, which has produced such high levels of radioactivity in some parts of the Chernobyl exclusion zone that it does actually affect the animals and the plants even to this day, is way better for biodiversity than normal everyday human activity, including, by the way, your best practicing organic farm. So animals and plants, wildlife need space, they need habitat, and they need area. And the number of livestock that we have now absolutely dwarfs the wild animals that lived on this planet before humans became such a overwhelmingly dominant species. So this is a slide of human. I got that from the PNS paper in the supplementary material. It's worth going all the way down, like to page 92 or something, because I think this is an amazing bar chart. So the human biomass now, like all of the weight of our bodies, is actually roughly equivalent to all of the land animals in a kind of pre-human environment. But of course now the number of wild mammals, not land animals, because that would include insects, but mammals, is trivial really compared to all of our livestock and all of our humans. So there's even 3 times more chickens than all the wild birds in the world combined. This also extends to the oceans. This is a particularly egregious thing that goes on in the Southern Ocean, which should of course be completely natural given the devastation that humans made there in the days of commercial whaling, when all of the great whales pretty much were wiped out in this area. And now we don't kill the whales, instead we eat their lunch. So we go down there with these enormous factory ships and we haul out krill, which is these little crustaceans, I'm sure you all know, which is the basis of the food chain, and it feeds the whales, it feeds the penguins, it feeds all of the seals in the Southern Ocean. This is one of the either Chinese or the Taiwanese factory ships. That pink stuff that comes out is what's left when they've hauled out tons and tons of krill and squashed it all up and then extracted the oil. And the rest of it gets used, by the way, for pet food or for salmon farm feed. So, and this is the most high value use of krill oil, is for omega-3 health supplements. And these really cute guys on the left wearing the tuxedos are Adelie penguins. They get most of their nutrition from krill. So I did some numbers on this, which we're going to publish at some point in one of our exciting reports for WePlanet. So yes, if you do the maths, that bottle of krill oil supplement that somebody's going to take could feed one Adelie penguin chick for 3 weeks. This, of course, can be very easily replaced now with algal omega-3s, so using precision fermentation for lipids rather than proteins. This is a much bigger area than just proteins. And actually, they've just closed the krill fishery in the Southern Ocean because they've already reached the catch limit of 600,000 tons, which could feed the entire Adelie penguin population chick population twice over. So we're having this impact on the ecosystem, which is completely unnecessary. We don't need to rewild the Southern Ocean. We just need to leave it alone and let these ecosystems recover from the destruction that humans have already inflicted on them. And in order to do that, of course, we just have to find different sources for the things that we're after. We are after omega-3s, but they're produced by marine algae anyway. That's where the fish and the krill even get them from. And so we can just do that straightforwardly using precision fermentation in vats. And there's and I was going to say about whales as well, but look, here's a picture of Solar Foods. That's not you, is it? No. But we've all, many of us have been on the trip, and it's a really exciting, and I think the story for Solar Foods is just such a strong narrative in terms of how you can produce protein on unlimited scale, really, using no land at all, really, in any meaningful sense, and using entirely clean electricity. We have some great stats in the ReBoot Food Report. It was written largely by Joel back in 2003, but it's well worth another look, actually, because I think it's a really groundbreaking and far-sighted approach. And I love this stat of, it's about 40,000 times more land efficient to produce protein via biomass fermentation than beef. And so, the land footprint of doing all of the world's protein using precision fermentation would be less than a single city. So again, it's a rounding error. It's barely even a pixel on a map if we were to try and look at it. And all of that is land area that is then freed up for the return of natural ecosystems using rewilding. And so I think we have to really connect up these different agendas of the alternative proteins movement, lipids as well, and so on, and land sparing and conservation, because once the land is spared, you also still have to protect it. It doesn't just protect itself automatically. And rewilding and ecological restoration and all of the climate repair and things that come along with that. But none of that happens unless you start at the beginning of that chain, which is large-scale land use from livestock, beginning to reduce that pressure. This is another of Joel's slides. This shows a hippie on the left and some right-wing nutcases on the right, who seem to have an extraordinary amount in common in proving the horseshoe theory of politics. Is that the Miami cultivated meat ban? In Florida rather. Yeah. So it's Ron DeSantis, and on the left is an other hippie farmer, who of course has the same agenda. Chris Mage. Oh, he's an absolute lunatic. We should get him on the podcast, eh? He thinks we're lunatics. That's crazy. All right. I think that's me done. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.